Freedom's greetings, Helldivers. Erevin here to bring you everything you need to know about today's update, bringing us some much needed fixes for some timeless bugs, as well as balance changes for the new Warbond featuring both a rework and what is likely to be a very controversial nerf. It's about 6 in the morning for me, so let's waste no time and just get into things. First, let's talk about an all important bug fix. In the previous patch, Arrowhead had completely broken the interaction between your weapon's swivel speed and the reticle drag, causing awkward interactions we just talked about how you can get around in the video yesterday. Allegedly, you should no longer need to worry about this problem, and weapons should once again be synced up both in third and first person with what you are seeing visually down your scopes. Unfortunately, this fix does not come without cost. As I originally predicted, this issue was born from the improvement made to the sterilizer, which by proxy was also affecting the flamethrower, where both of these weapons had gained the ability to instantly swivel with zero drag whatsoever. This fix has reverted the change, meaning the sterilizer and, more importantly, the flamethrower once again have very heavy drag and low ergonomic values, which is a bit of a shame as the snappy response time on these weapons ended up being a great quality of life improvement, leading to an all time low number of accidental combustions for our Helldivers as a result. Arrowhead has allegedly also fixed the infamous issue with terminals becoming non interactable, which was previously only fixable by having a Helldiver disconnect from the game to give it a reboot. If you still end up coming across this bug anyway, make sure to report it to Arrowhead so they know the fix was amiss. If that's not the case, well, then good job, Arrowhead. A bug was fixed that could cause your integrated explosive armor passive to not trigger, leading to some very disappointing moments, as there was nothing quite as disappointing as watching your martyrdom perk fail to confirm the kill in your death cam. Now our Helldivers can sacrifice their lives for liberty, resting with the ease of mind that the lives they give are now properly guaranteed to take out all the opposition occupying their personal space. A significant number of crash fixes were implemented that will hopefully lead to some much smoother play sessions, as the game's stability was a bit too similar to the release of the game for the anniversary for my liking, which was some nostalgia absolutely nobody needed or asked for. Getting to the most controversial change in the log, though, the Ultimatum secondary weapon added with the Servants of Freedom update has received a nerf to its ammo, but only under specific circumstances. It was previously possible to begin the operation and every following life with two spare rounds with the pocket rocket. You could do this by utilizing the Siege Ready passive to get an extra spare maximum round, and Hellpod space optimization to fill that maximum capacity, giving you 3 shots per life with no need to resupply. Arrowhead felt this interaction was too powerful, stating they have carefully opted for an approach where we'd like to reduce the ease of access to additional ammunition while maintaining the weapon's core identity, meaning players will need to use the weapon more strategically and sparingly overall to maximize its effectiveness. What this basically comes down to is the ultimatum being knocked down to a solid pick under three specific circumstances. One, if you're loading out with a supply pack, you'll still be able to make semi regular use of the weapon, but will still definitely be feeling that -2 rounds per life if you were a frequent flyer of the respawn screen. If you weren't dying very frequently, though, then a supply pack enjoyer should notice next to no difference in reality when utilizing the ultimatum. Next use case is if you are deploying to a colony map, such as the ones the Illuminate currently infest, although we know Arrowhead is currently testing the implementation of this map across all three factions, evident by the fact that they've begun to appear in Difficulty 3 automaton missions. The reason the ultimatum shines in these maps is the home field advantage means these maps are stocked with more ammo per street corner than Austin, Texas, meaning any deployments to these maps with the ultimatum should mean that our Helldivers have no issues staying topped up. Lastly, the ultimatum is still capable of destroying both detector towers and jammers, something no other personal weapon in the game can do at all at the moment, even if it's a support weapon specifically designed to bust bunkers. This is still an extremely powerful utility valuable to any bot diving squad, making the ultimatum a top consideration regardless of this change during automaton operations. Personally, when I brought the ultimatum to the automatons, I would fire it maybe twice a match, using it specifically for this one sole purpose, and designing the rest of my loadout to handle all other opposition, making the low ammo of my secondary a non issue. In my book, if my sidearms manage to remove a jammer from the game for me without any extra stress or effort on my part, personally, I'm more than okay with that trade. This all being said, though, I can understand how many are likely frustrated with this change. So let's discuss our opinions politely and respectfully down below in the comments as far as what you guys think about the ultimatum after the change. But the ultimatum wasn't the only Servants of Freedom weapon that received a significant change. The double edged sickle arguably received a much larger one, receiving a complete overhaul to the numbers behind the overheat mechanic. Previously, the double edged sickle was becoming a well liked weapon, but the numbers and mechanics were an absolute mess at the end of the day. The in game tooltip was wrong, and the damage wasn't ramping the way it was intended to. Now the tooltip has been corrected, and the scaling of the weapon with its heat generation has been properly implemented. Previously, the weapon gained no damage when heating up, and the armor penetration remained static at medium the entire time, meaning the only benefit to burning yourself was the fact that you would be able to continually fire the weapon with no reloading necessary, keeping your DPS consistent. Now, when firing the DE Sickle, the first 50 rounds the weapon will deal 55 ballistic damage and 5 durable damage with only light penetration, making it functionally worse than it was previously when firing those first 50 rounds. When continuing to fire the weapon, though, between the 50th and 90th round fired, or 26 to 50% heat as it's written in the notes, your sickle will deal the same 55 damage, but it gets its medium penetration back. The negative is that this is now the point that you'll begin to take the previous 10 damage per second in fire damage to your Helldiver. Beyond this, there has been a new tier of heat added in between this point and the final tier, where between the 90th and 164th round fired, or 50% to 90%, the sickle has medium armor penetration, but now gets a damage boost to 70 ballistic damage and 70 durable damage, increasing its DPS to 816, up from 642, while the penalty doubles, causing you to receive 20 damage per second instead of 10. And finally, the last tier of heat above 91% after the 164th round is fired, where you begin to take a whopping 50 damage per second in addition to lighting on fire for a further 50 damage per second, all of which is calculated as fire damage. In return for this penalty, the weapon goes up to level 4 armor penetration, also known as heavy penetration, making it the first non flamethrower primary to receive heavy penetration. So, what's all this mean for the sickle enjoyers? Well, my previous recommendation to play into the weapon's mechanics and run fire resistant armor is no longer a recommendation, but more so a requirement. The amount of damage you receive from using this rifle beyond its first 50 rounds will quickly run through your stim supply and put your Helldiver into the dirt as a smoldering corpse without fire resistance, as demonstrated in the test on screen now. As you can see, the damage is extremely significant, as without a stim, I can no longer even make it to the point where I catch fire on the 164th round, burning out during the 20 damage per second phase, even when running Vitality Booster, which does round down the damage. Running medium or even light fire resistance armor, however, with Vitality Booster will make it very realistic to reach the highest levels of heat with this weapon, and even utilizing the heavy armor penetration with relative ease as long as your stim supply holds up or you have an ally nearby with a stim pistol. Laying prone also still significantly reduces the burning damage you receive in the final stage as well. Now, this isn't meant to be a weapon breakdown video. We're just analyzing patch notes here. But I do want to mention that Hulks in particular have only 25% durability on their eye. So the DE Sickle can actually bring them down in a pretty reasonable amount of shots when entering the Afterburner mode. Something I find pretty impressive in its own right. So basically, the DE Sickle will be a lot better for those that played into its mechanic and used fire resistance alongside it, as well as a medic buddy or supply pack for extra stims. But the weapon will be notably worse for those that did not. although you have been compensated to some degree with an extra change of ice, bringing its spare magazine total from 2 to 3, giving it a bit of flexibility back in that regard. That's going to do it for my rundown on today's patch notes, though. Given the amount of detail I had to go into on these changes, as well as the personal testing, I imagine this video has probably lagged behind other similar videos from my peers releasing, so I very much appreciate you taking the time to watch mine. Thank you to my coffee supporters who help keep the channel going, and thank you again for watching till the end. I'll see you next time, everybody. I'm going to bed. For him. He's
Oh,
right
there he
here.
is. He's right there. I'm coming.
Wait, did I get him?
He's dead. You might have chopped him.
I think the leg sweeped and killed me when I killed him.
Oh.